We're going to look at a couple of features of PowerPoint that we don't commonly use, and the first one is embedding YouTube. YouTube has a lot of great content, but whenever we go to a link or go to YouTube, you notice that there's a lot of videos down the right hand side, usually distracting, taking the focus off whatever content it is that we want to look at. Now, our kind of traditional way of putting a link in is something like this, maybe just pasting it directly into our presentation, so that when I click on this, it will open my browser, take me out of the presentation, out of my lesson, and then I have to close things down, kind of navigate back to the presentation. So we're going to be a little more efficient with that, and plus we're going to be a little cleaner than the actual page. So to do that, I'm just going to get out of the slideshow. I'm going to make a new slide. So this blank slide will be my viewing area for the video. Now, the first thing we need to do is go get the video that I want to use. This is my Friends of 10 video, and I'm going to copy this URL, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to stop the video here. We don't need to listen to it right now. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to paste that here in Notepad for now, and we'll come back to this in a second. So in my viewing area, this is a blank slide. I'm under the Developer tab in PowerPoint, and looking under Controls, there's this little icon, looks like a hammer and a wrench, and I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open up the More Controls window. And if I scroll down through here, and I get down to the S's, right here we're looking for Shockwave Flash Object. So I'm going to select that and click OK. And I'm presented with a little crosshair here. And I'm going to use this to draw a rectangle. This will be where my video plays. So I'm going to make quite a large rectangle. I'm going to let go. And then I'm presented with this. And this is the Shockwave Flash Object. It kind of looks like a mailing envelope. And so what I need to do is I'm going to right click on this, and from my choices here I'm going to choose Properties, and this is all the options, or rather all the properties of the Shockwave Flash Object. The one I'm concerned with here is the one that says Movie, and this is where my URL is going to go. But first of all, we have to make a few changes to it. So just to illustrate the difference, I'm going to paste it again. And we're going to look here where it says Watch ? I'm going to delete that out of the URL. And then I'm also going to take out this equal sign and replace it with another backslash. So this is my original URL, and this is my new one, new and improved. So I'm going to take this one, copy that, and I'm going to put that right in the cell next to Movie. So that's my movie property, and that is it. So here's my presentation. Looks fine. I'm going to go into slideshow mode here, and there's my video, right? So if I go back, so here's my first slide, second slide. That's our traditional way of doing it, the old link. And next, when I come to my next slide, there is the video ready to go. Little play button, none of the distractions down the right hand side. I haven't left the presentation. There's no transitioning between other programs. And there you have it. Now the downside, or the upside, I guess depending on how you look at it, is that this requires internet. Because we are using a URL, we're directly going out and calling for that video. So we have to have access, internet access. The plus side of it is that it's internet access. We haven't actually downloaded the video, so the file size of my presentation is still relatively small and easy to share, via email or other means, and very useful to whomever wants to use it, as long as they also have internet. So that's number one. Okay, let's get out of that. I'm going to go to another presentation here, and we're going to add user controls to learning resources. So I have a 10 frame built here, and there's my little equation at the bottom. And just to show you how this works, if I'm going to go into presentation mode, actually I'm going to move this up a little bit so we'll be able to see it. I'm going to do the same thing on these ones. I've made a number of slides here, and just make some little adjustments here. Oops. Here we go. So I'll go back, and we're going to go into presentation mode. And so I go to my slide, and here's my full 10 frame. 10 plus 0 equals 10. And now this is fine for a student to review, and then they have a button on the right hand side. I'm ready to advance. So they go to the next slide.
9 plus 1
and
equals 10.
I'm not sure if the audio came through on that, but this next slide, I actually put a video prompt in here of me speaking this 9 plus 1 equals 10. And I have the 10 frame, which represents that. And now I have these two buttons. I have a go forward, and I also have go back. So the user now controls how they flow through this presentation. I'm going to go back. Oh yes, that was that one. I can go forward. This is this one. I can click ahead, go to the next one. 8 plus 2
plus 2 equals 10.
And again, I'm not sure if you can hear the audio, but I have that set to play automatically. And away we go. So now the way we do this, if I can just get out of this for a second. I want to end that show. What I've been doing is once I have the original frame built, 10 frame with the 10 slides. I'm down to, what's this, 7 plus 3, 6 plus 4. So actually I'll delete the 6 plus 4 and recreate it here. So here's my 7 plus 3. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on that and say duplicate slide. And I've got two 7 plus 3s, except that I'm going to change this one to 6 plus 4. So I'm going to right click on that object, format it, change the color to match, and change my numbers. So I'm recreating these slides as we go, one at a time. Now the controls, they came with, when I duplicated the slide, they came forward with it, and they work fine. But just to show you how to put those in, up here under the home ribbon and under the drawing section, if I just click on this little down arrow, I'll see all these options for different shapes, block arrows, equation shapes, blah, blah, blah. If we go down to the bottom, we see one called action buttons. And these first few are just like the controls on I was going to say VCR, but DVD maybe would be a better analogy. And I'm just going to click on, here's my back button. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to draw a little back button right here. And when I let go, it's built in. It says hyperlink to the previous slide. That means go back to the one before it. If I click on the same, the forward button, and I'll click over here and draw a little button, it says hyperlink to the next slide. So the controls are now there for the student or learner to move forward and backward as they require. So that's good. Now I added a little piece here to this one. If I go to my presentation mode again, there's my 6 plus 4. The next slide is a 5 plus something. So I'm asking the student to actually think about what could the answer be here. So they may count it or they may know. And to get the feedback, they'll click on this box. You notice when I hover over the box, it has a little, the pointer finger that appears. So when I click on it, it disappears. 5, I was right. So the question is, how do we do that? We're going to add another little user control to this, or a little interactivity. So I'm going to get out of this slideshow, and we're going to look at see how we do that. So I'm going to duplicate. I'll delete this slide and then redo it. Here's my 6 plus 4. I'll duplicate that, and I'll make the necessary changes. Turn that fifth one to yellow. Oops, didn't take that time. Format shape. There we go. And change this to 5 and 5. That's great. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to my shapes, and I'm going to grab my basic shapes. I'm going to grab this basic rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle over top of the one I want them to guess. And I'll let go. And I'm going to right click. I'm going to format that shape so it actually matches the color of the counters that I want them to focus on. And that's fine. So now what I need to do is I need to add a transition to this, or an animation, sorry. And what I'm going to do is I have my square highlighted, and I'm now under the animations tab. Now these are all appears. I'm going to click this little down arrow here, and now I have my exits options, and I can have this one. I'm going to bounce this one out. You can see just out of the corner of the screen there where it kind of bounces away. So that's great. So now this has an animation. We see here animation. It shows the little bouncing symbol. But the next thing is we want that to happen with a student action. We want them to initiate this. So what we're going to do is, with this rectangle selected again, I'm going to go over and click on Trigger. And again, we're still under the Animations pane, and I have the object selected, and I'm going to choose Trigger. And I want it to happen, I want this animation to happen on the click of, and if I go down, it's actually the last thing I just created in this list. This is all in the order in which they're created. The last one was this called rectangle number 3, which I can also see over here. So I'm going to select that. And now you see the icon, or the little symbol here, changes to a lightning bolt, which matches the lightning bolt of the trigger. So if I go into presentation mode, we see that now I'm in this slide, and as I get over this box, I turn to that little pointing finger and I click on it, and the box bounces away to reveal the answer, and I guessed it right. 5 plus 5, I'm doing really well. And then I would go on to the next slide or back to the previous slide, right? So that's good. So there's another interaction that the student can add. Now, the next part, get out of the slideshow here, is what do I do once it's all done? I'm going to duplicate this slide again, and I'm going to move the 6 one up. I need to move the 5 down. I want that one there. I'm going to change this one. It's now going to be, I did 5, so this is going to be 4 and 6. Change those. I need to change a couple of these to match up. I'll do that real quick. Actually, I can change those a couple at a time. I'm just going to undo that for a second. I'll show you. If I needed to change a whole bunch, if I hold down my control button and I'll click on this, and you see the little plus sign next to my arrow, and I'll click on that one. And now when I right click and change that, it will apply to both of them. So that's a little shortcut. And I've got this, and that's great. Now the question is, at the end of my slideshow, instead of, let's pretend this is the last slide, this is 0 plus 10. Actually, why don't I just do that? Why don't I make it 0 plus 10 rather than pretend? And I'm going to use my control button again and select all these red circles, and I'm going to turn them into yellow circles, my little counters that I use in my classroom. And I'm going to make a little adjustment here. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Get my equal sign. There we go. Looks a little better. There's no next slide here, so I'm done. So what I need to do is take out this box, delete that, and I'm going to go back to my home button and these drawing tools. And now what I have is I have this button, which is a custom button. It looks like a rectangle actually. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to draw this square right here. And then what I'm going to do is choose hyperlink to, but what I'm going to do is choose end show. So it's not actually going anywhere. It's actually going to be an action to complete the presentation. So again, if I'm on presentation mode, and this goes back, this goes forward, but then I see this one, and that says end the show. I'm done. Great. Now, that's all well and good, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to package this so that it runs for the student without all of these controls, and they don't have to worry about any of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Slideshow tab, and I'm going to choose Set Up Slideshow, and I'm going to click on this, and this box shows up. So what I'm going to do is a couple choices here. The show type is I'm going to choose a kiosk, which means it's going to go full screen for me. I don't have to worry about any of the controls, and I'm going to use the manual setting for advancing slides, which means it's going to respond to the clicks inside the presentation. So I'm going to say OK to that. That's number one. And the last step here is I'm going to do a Save As. And when my box appears, I am going to choose, I'm going to call this 10 frame. And I'll throw this on my desktop. Now, instead of the default PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to go down and I'm going to choose, just to make it more compatible, I'm going to choose the 97-2003 option, and I'm going to click on the show version. So this is PowerPoint 97-2003 show, and then I'll hit save. And now it's working. It's going to package that all up, and I'm just going to say continue to that. That's fine. And now what I have, I minimize everything going on here. I have my 10 frame show. It's a little different icon. So when I click on this, now you see it opens right up, and here are my user controls, so I can click through that. Oh, this one.
9 plus 1 equals...
I hear the audio playing here. I'm going to click, I'm going to move through these real quick. And now this is the one with the interactivity. Actually, I can go back, come back to this one. Oh yeah, this is 5. I'm going to guess. It goes out of the way. Excellent. I get to my 0 plus 10 equals 10, and here's my ending button. When I click on this, it's completely out, and I'm ready to go. So just about out of time, so I hope that helps everyone, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact your local tech mentor.